So good morning, everyone, from a more comfortable and cooler day in Dorset. I hope the lovely climate is well with you too. So today we see our last virtual career chat for the summer as we break for the summer back, of course. And I am delighted today to have two of our valued mentors from Atkins and Costain as they share their journeys and the role of program manager. So sit back and enjoy, and over to you, Angela.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Forbes, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you this morning. So thank you for dialing in. So I hope you are sitting comfortably in light of the week of weather we have had so far. So I personally have very much been looking forward to our one day of summer in Scotland, as the rain does get a little warmer. Whereas I think down south, you do seem to have the four seasons. It's either nearly summer, it's still summer, or there's roadworks. And on that note, as we are here to discuss all great things about programme management, where nothing is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it themselves. So we extend a very warm welcome to Atkins and Costain today, both very committed employers to build force and the military community. So our speakers are Andrew Perry, Project Consultant at Atkins, and we welcome back Stephen Noble, Director of Projects and Programme Management at Costain. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Andrew. We'll take questions at the end, so please feel free to write in any comments as we go, and we'll switch our cameras off. Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Just bring up my presentation. I'm hoping you can hear me okay.
We can, yeah.
So let me introduce myself. I'm Andrew Perry. I started my military career 32 years ago. No longer than that, because I've been out for 2 years now. I'm going to talk about a bit about my military life, the resettlement process, moving from military man to civilian, part of Atkins, being the PMO team lead, a little bit about Atkins, and then some of the top tips that I've picked up over the last three years since I started resettlement, I suppose. So I was in the RAF for 32 years, left about 2-3 years ago now, being in logistics, moved around the country and all around the world. As you can see, I spent 32 years in 6 different UK locations, and I'm sure as many of you military people will be aware, there's too many countries that we visit on a year-to-year basis. So I started my resettlement back in May of 2019. A couple of hours at Bryce Norton with the conversation around CVs, and I'm sure everybody's been through this process. I having finished my career in the military, I was at GCHQ. I'd done a lot of networking there, so I was aware of Atkins, who've got offices all around the country, but one of their big ones is in Cheltenham. So they'd had a job fair, which I attended, and chatted to a few people that have been with Atkins for a long time, both military and non-military, and spoke to them regarding getting a job. I interviewed in the August, and secured the job in September, which was a good 9 months before I was due to leave the RAF, which made the last 9 months and the transition to civilian life really easy, because I knew that I had a job secured for the future. My resettlement started in the February of 2020, and they offered me the opportunity to start working with Atkins during that period, which was actually really good, because although I could have probably done a bricklaying course or something, it actually gave me a good insight into what and how they worked on a day-to-day basis. Then in the March, I'd been working with Atkins for about 2 months. COVID hit, which put a little bit of a dent into the process of moving into civilian life. And due to the location I was working in, my DV clearance had lapsed. So there was a little bit of a tentative time where I wasn't aware or wasn't sure what was happening with my employment. Having spoken to the bosses there, they put me on something they called the bench, and I worked on low side work with East Coast Railway and some recruiting, ex-reserves recruiting scheme that we set up with a couple of colleagues that were also on the bench. My clearances came through in the November, and I started a role as a PCO in 2022. I'll go into a bit more detail about PCO role in a little while. And then as you can see, in April of 2022, I became a PMO team lead. Again, I'll move on to that in a little bit. So as a PCO, it's a pipeline into a project management role, and we deal on a day-to-day basis the finance, the risk management, planning, and all the other aspects of project management that you would need to learn on the way through to becoming a certified project manager. I allow myself to do that obviously for 18 months, but I felt that my military experience and transferable skills, certainly my leadership and management skills, weren't being utilized. So I applied for a team lead role and was successful. So I've been doing that for about 4 months now. So as part of that role, it's like being a senior in the RAF or a junior officer. You know, you're looking after the team welfare, making sure that everyone's okay. And in this hybrid working, which we are at the moment, that becomes a little bit more pressurized because you have to make sure that you're looking after people from in 2 different locations, or potentially 3 or 4, because if 2 or 3 people working away from home, they and they don't check in or they don't sign on, you can be a little bit unsure about how they're getting on. We have, or my PCOs, my team have outcomes to deliver. So similar to the military with KPIs and other businesses, we have to make sure that that's happened. We engage with our service users, the people that we actually work for, the project management clients, ensuring that they get what they want from us. And if we can offer them anything extra, any extra outcomes that we might not be doing, but if we've got the capability to expand our use, then we will. And reporting all that back up to the PMO and the SLT to make sure that the bosses are happy with what we're doing on a day-to-day and month-to-month basis. So also, as part of being a consultant for Atkins, as well as I suppose as a day job, we also have a secondary role where as you can see, it encompasses lots of other items. So I'm a line manager for three new starters, which is as kind of time consuming as the team lead role. I've been doing obviously Build Force and Partners in Armed Forces recruiting activities, which is similar to Build Force, but reaches out to other ex-military people that are looking for employment. I'm on the interview board, so I have done 5 or 6 interviews, which are really enjoyable. Meeting new people, making sure that that we get the right person for the right jobs. Bid writing is a new activity that I've just taken on. Atkins allow volunteer days, so we're doing a scheme during the summer to ensure that underprivileged children get some food over the summer. The list is endless. We have done lots of different things over the course of the last couple of years. A little bit about Atkins. There's something like 50 different locations throughout the country, in England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And as you can see, I've got nearly 10,000 people working for us. It's quite an old slide, I would imagine. And a turnover of £100,000. We do, Atkins as a business does construction as a main and engineering with activities like HS2. There's items of work being done in the Middle East, in America, all around the UK. They're far outreaching. My top tips that I've gleaned over the last couple of years, I would say, make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. I would imagine that most people have got that all sorted. Open to hire, I think, is the tag that you can put on your profile picture. And if you find somebody or see something that's interesting to you on LinkedIn, I would advise them, to reach out, have a conversation with them. You don't know where that's going to lead. Make sure your CV is up to date and tailor it to any any job that you are applying for. And I was lucky enough to be in a place where I could build networks, and I'm sure people that are working in the likes of Abbey Wood, etc., and MOD will have lots of people that they can chat to work with, possibly in the defence area, that would open them up to opportunities that would come their way. And I think that's the end as my LinkedIn thing. I don't know if that'll help. My LinkedIn thing. So if anybody wants to reach out and discuss anything further, then it's there to tag on and hopefully have a conversation later. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That's fantastic. If I could ask Stephen to join us.
Splendid. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Noble. I'm just going to chat through a few points that I've got written down here. I'm going to sort of cover who Costain is, give a podded CV of what I've done since leaving, and then talk about some how to write a CV and people's opinions on CVs, and then sort of some top tips at the bottom end of it. So start off with I work for Costain. I work within the consultancy area of Costain, where I'm a portfolio program and project management consultant, and we go out and do various commissions across the sectors that Costain works in. So Costain itself is a smart infrastructure company. We do complex delivery, and that we actually go and build roads, and we do railway programs. So we have recently done the A14, we're currently doing the A19, we're about to do the A66, Preston North Bypass, or things that we've done in the road area. In rail, we're on HS2, as quite a lot of people are as well. We're also doing the new Gatwick station. In water, of the 10 water utility companies, we work and have 5-year contracts with 5 of them, doing infrastructure work and maintenance work with them. And we also have quite a big piece in energy, working, especially one of the big ones there is with EDF, helping them manage their nuclear power stations. And we also have a defence sector. And in the defence sector, we're working with BAE Systems, we're working with the Dreadnought Alliance, we're in DNS, and we're in AWE as well, and also the Defence Nuclear Organisation, where I happen to be working at the moment. So that's who Costain is, and the types of things we do. We try and bring technology solutions to how we do it. And so there's a lot of talk at the moment within Costain about digital work and building digital twins and how we can better use data and better manage data to help deliver the programs as we go through. We are a proactive veterans organisation. We've got a veterans community, and if you can go on our website and register as a veteran as well, if you're looking for work. So that's Costain. My potted CV. I was an infantier. I was in the light infantry. I served from 90 to 2006 when the army, in their infinite wisdom, came up with a redundancy package for people's year of birth 60 to 74, of which I was smack in the middle, and basically doubled my money. So why not? So I did, and I jumped ship after about 17 years of service. And during that time, I'd done all the normal things: Northern Ireland, Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq. People call Cyprus an operation. I have my doubts, but it was fun. And I also had some great fun doing other bits and pieces. And if I had my time again and was 22 again, I would do it all again. I've really enjoyed my military career. So I transitioned out in 2006, and I did the normal sort of things and going having the career transition workshops and that sort of thing. I also did a course at Manchester University called AMAC, which I believe is still running, which gives a really good insight into how businesses work. It's like a mini MBA in about 3 weeks. And also during my terminal leave and things like that, I just went and did work experience. I just rang up companies and said, can I come work for you for 2 or 3 weeks? All you have to do is pay my expenses and I might do a project for you. And I did that for HSBC and also for a company called Mercury Euroval, who were an HR consultancy company. Both of them told me I didn't want to, as a result of them, didn't want to go into banking and didn't want to go into HR consultancy. So there we go. Useful from that perspective. I then decided to go into project management, and initially I just got myself a contract job, which is slightly different nowadays because of IR35. I'm not going to go into that now, but it was really useful in that immediately I got home, somebody had taken a punt on me, and I didn't have Army Officer as the top of my CV. I actually had Programme Project Manager. I did that for a few months, and then I got a job with Lockheed Martin in Amt Hill, running a program, which is special projects, so we won't talk too much about it, but it was great fun. It was really interesting. It was a design and manufacture program, and I was the program manager for it, and I learned huge amounts about project and program management on there. Possibly the biggest thing is actually everyone talks about schedule, cost and risk. I found the two things on that particular program that brought it under control and kept it under control were quality and configuration management. Sounds dull and boring, but actually, if you don't get those two right, the other three just go out of the window. I worked for Lockheed Martin until about 2010, 2011, and then I got a job with GJLS, FPE, General Dynamics Land Systems, Force Protection Europe, as a program manager on the Foxhound program. Some of you may have heard it. Again, that was an amazing time, basically taking from a blank sheet of paper to deploying on operations within 2 years to producing 200 vehicles. It was quite intense. It was enormously good fun, and I worked basically facing down the supply chain, making sure that people were delivering on time so we can try and get this thing into service. I'm sure many people have got opinions about Foxhound as to whether it's good or whether it's bad. I sat next to a guy, corporal in the Rifles at a rugby club dinner, and I said I was on that. He immediately started slagging it off, and then he said, well, actually, I saw one blown up by a roadside IED in Afghanistan, and 4 people walked away from it. So for me, fine. I thoroughly enjoyed Foxhound, and I hope it has saved some people's lives downstream, so that's quite good. Also at GJLS FPE, we worked on a whole load of bids to do the massive upgrades. We won all of those, and I did a lot of bid management on there, which again was really interesting. And actually, what we need to do is apply program management techniques to writing a bid, and you probably get the bid in on time then. The work sort of in the land systems in FPE sort of dried up because we'd won all the work and we were doing it. And I had an opportunity to go and become a program management consultant, and I ended up effectively in Costain. And since working with Costain, I've worked with Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, I've worked on the Dreadnought Alliance. I find that quite amusing as a career infantry officer. I'm eminently well placed to consult on the UK's major submarine programme, but actually it was really fascinating. I worked on Angling Water and a strategic pipeline alliance, which is basically building a pipeline from the Humber down to the Thames to redistribute water. I did a piece in the Cabinet Office dealing with border protocol delivery group, trying to fix the borders. Who knew? I did a little bit of work with Cadent Gas, some internal consultancy with them. And at the moment, I'm working in the Defence Nuclear Organisation, basically looking at strategic supply chains and how we can deal with those to ensure security of the future deterrence. So that's my potted CV. I said I'd talk to you a little bit about CVs, and all I'll say about CVs, I get CVs come in, and if you try and mask the fact that you've been in the military, I can see it straight away. People trying to reinterpret what a company commander does or what a company sergeant major does or something like that, I can see it straight away, and I just go, why are you hiding it? Just say what you were, say what your experiences were and what you did and what you achieved, and it comes out and it's really, really good. Have some stories to tell. Don't necessarily template it, but have some stories to tell when you actually get through to an interview, and just embellish what you've got in your CV in the interview and really make it come to life is the important thing to me. Everybody has an opinion about CVs, and you can talk to one person about it and they like it this size and this font and this many pages. Somebody else that wanted it in a different font, in columns with a photograph or the video. My advice is just get a good standard CV on 2 pages, which is clean and has got white space around it. Don't try and cram everything in it. Get it down to 2 pages. It's clean, it's easy to read, because people are looking at them really quickly and you need to grab their attention as quickly as you can. So that's on that. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is give you a bit of a few ideas, is just a bit of domestics and some top tips. The big thing that I find out in the big wide world of industry, not in the military, is the diversity of thinking, people come from all different experiences, different ideas, different approaches, and different ways of doing things. And quite a lot of the time, they're violently agreeing. When you're in the military, whether it's either of the three services, you actually have a whole load of training, and you all have been trained the same way, and you all effectively think the same way. The last thing I want anybody to do is be told what to think. But if I can get you how to think in a particular structure, it saves a whole load of time and a whole load of friction. So you've actually got those skills from where you're going, and all you're trying to do is, I don't want to stifle in entrepreneurship, I don't want to stifle ideas, but if you can get people to think in a particular structure, life runs much more smoothly and it's much easier. You will also be used to really high standards, and you have to remember that everybody in the military has been through some selection and been through an awful lot of training, and the standards that you expect are quite high. It's not the same out in the big wide world, and if you try and drive people to those high standards, they might just go, well, sod you, and walk away. So you need to have an alternative approach of how to get the best out of people, to make them stay and to actually incrementally grow their standards to where you want them to be. But if you go in like a bull in a china shop, you won't get anywhere. Other sort of ideas, I chose to pick somewhere to live, and then I went and found a job around it. That was principally because at the time I had a 7 and a 9-year-old when I left, and they were the priority. We needed to get them settled into schools, and away we go, which is what we did. And then I have found all those jobs that I've spoken to you about around and about them having a stable life, and it's been great fun. Another point is, when you talk to some recruitment consultants, they will say, oh, of course you've got your pension and you should expect to take a pay cut coming out of the services. No, do not take a pay cut. If you were moving from BT to GlaxoSmithKline or something like that, you would not expect to take a pay cut. So why should you take a pay cut? Set your expectations and go for it. What is important is that you build on your experience and you keep building on your experience. People will tell you, you can go and do an APM course, or you can do a Prince 2 course, or you can do PMBOK, that sort of stuff. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. You get something that you can put next to your name, and then you can build on it, and you can get some experience and take it on from there. And my last top tip is, if you're going to do anything, I would really recommend you have a look at things to do with data management and data exploitation. I'm not suggesting any of you become Cambridge Analytica or something like that, but just understanding data structures and how to mine data and use data and turn it into management information and then into intelligence, so you can help people make decisions, is a really, really useful skill, and I would commend that to everybody. So that's me. And I think we're going to questions now, are we?
We are, Stephen. That was incredible. Thank you very much. If I could ask our speakers to come back on. Caroline, if you can join us. Thank you for that, Stephen. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand or type it in the box. Meanwhile, I'll kick off with a few just to warm the speakers up for you. So first question to Andrew. So the day job itself, Andrew, what does a typical day look like for you?
At the moment, we're on site more. It has been hybrided, but now we're on site. So it's a check-in with my team, and that's whether they're in the office or not. As you can imagine, it's quite a large place, so it takes a little bit of time to wander around the place to catch up with everybody. If someone's working from home, then it's a quick call just to touch base with them. And then it's a chat to the service users to make sure that they're getting the service that they want from our team, really. The financial outcomes, the planning, and the risk outcomes are all being met. And if there's anything else that we can do for them, really. If we have got an inexperienced PCO, for example, coming in, and he's or her has managed to get skill set up so that he's got more capability to take on extra role, then we'll push him to do more work. Obviously, hopefully he's rewarded for that, but just so that he's not sat there doing nothing, because nobody wants to sit in the office and be idle. So we'll ask if they can expand their role a little bit. So and then it's reporting back to the SLT, making sure that we do a monthly report to ensure that they're happy, to make sure that all our targets are being hit, and if we can achieve extra ones, then we will.
Okay, so just to explain more the project that you're on then. So who's the clients, who's the consultants, where
It's a bit hard. So the place where we work is a bit hard to go into that sort of thing. But
okay.
so we do part of UKIC. There's lots of different projects that we deal with. As a PCO, they'll work directly with the project manager on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis to make sure that that they're happy with the service they're providing. Yeah, like I say, it's a little bit sensitive to talk about some of the projects that we do.
So just a good point you raised there, Andrew, and it's a question to both you and Stephen. So why program management and not project management, and what's the difference between the two?
Not well. I could get all technical with you, that sort of stuff. Projects basically deliver an output. It delivers a widget, and there it is. Program management is much more about delivering a capability and integrating other bits and pieces. So those who maybe have done some work in MOD will know about the defence lines of development and integrating training, equipment, people, organisation, information, logistics, all that sort of stuff. That's more program management. Whereas a project manager might deliver a training package as part of an overall program, or somebody might deliver a bit of equipment or build the building, and then somebody else is buying the equipment to go into it. So there's the infrastructure, and then there's the kit to go in the building as well. So program management is all about integrating the whole capability together to deliver a capability and an outcome, where the project will just deliver that element of it.
Okay, and the skill set for program management, is it just been a bit more strategic? Is it still
it's the same things. As a project, you need to start with some requirements. You need to turn it into a work breakdown structure, do your cost profile, build your schedule, that sort of stuff. It's exactly the same for program management. You need to do that as well. It gets a bit more strategic when you get onto portfolio level of things, and you're making decisions about which projects and which programs and strategic objectives. But for the time being, I'd advise you can get a project to work on and then move into program management. That's a great career path.
That's really good advice, Stephen. And you mentioned as well the success of a previous project was the configuration management, and the quality you was spot on. What is configuration management?
Basically, I was working with a whole engineers, and engineers love designing things, and will keep designing things, and will keep designing things, and keep changing things and not tell you. As the program manager, I had to have a bit of a rod of steel and go, stop, pens down. We now need to go to the supply chain and go and buy this sort of stuff. And if you keep changing it, we'll have wasted money in the supply chain, and it will come in and it won't fit. So stop designing it. So we ended up, this is quite technical, basically saying you can only change something if it's a requirement I'm not meeting, if there's a safety issue, or it's going to save me money in manufacturing. Now stop designing. And they didn't quite like that, but they got the gist of it in the end when I wasn't giving them any money to do anything.
Okay, Andrew's laughing, so he's obviously been there and done that most days.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
A couple of questions that have come in. Sorry. A couple of questions that have come in from Carl. What courses and training did you focus on whilst transitioning?
Sorry, go on.
I'll go
Andrew.
on.
No, go on.
So I mean, I went as a project manager, project controller. So there's a lot of emphasis placed on Prince 2 and APM, and I guess someone's got the.
I'm hoping Caroline's going to sort it. Yeah.
Well, APM, and it all depends on what project methodology the company you're going into uses, really. For where we are, it's APM, but there is an element of Prince. I think that's a good starter. I'm sure Stephen will agree, and there will be others. You can expand on APM fundamentals to practitioner and beyond, to give you a good base as a starter anyway, to go in, and then from there you can look into business change, business development. I guess the learning skills set is huge, and you can carry on doing courses for a long time, really.
And your company keeps you right, or a professional development plan with your line manager guides you, when you're on board?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As long as you've got your own set of ideals, you can go in any direction you want to. And I think part of it is that you coming from the military, we used to get fed into a certain direction, whereas when you come out into, certainly with Atkins, and I'm sure other companies are the same, it's left to your own devices. So you got that decision, and as long as you talk to your line management and to your bosses, that they will support you all the way through, and provide a lot of funding towards your courses that you need to do to develop your skill set.
Okay, Stephen, any advice on the courses?
No, I wouldn't disagree with anything. I think APM is a good route to go down. It's clearly structured. You can do the intro, then the APMQ, and you can build it up to become chartered, which is a good way to go. There's nothing wrong with the Prince 2 and the Axelos bits and pieces, because that just gives you experience and gives you more tools and techniques to go and use, whether you're consulting or whatever you're doing. But I wouldn't do one of them. If you are to pick, maybe the APM, but there's nothing wrong with Prince, and there's nothing wrong with MSP and the Axelos suite.
Okay, and Anthony, that's a question. I'll ask it to both of you. What does the military mentor program look like? I think that was to you, Stephen.
Okay, so we have quite a community of ex-service people within Costain, and we have a regular sort of teams catch up and that type of thing. We also have a very strong mentoring and coaching scheme within the company. So if you were to arrive in Costain and you said you wanted a mentor, we would find you a mentor who would help you, and then you could sit down and discuss personal development plans and where you want to go and how you want to do it, or even go off and go on a course and become a coach mentor, which I did a couple of years ago, and actually I find that bit really rewarding, particularly taking on whether it's graduates or young trainees or some people early in their career, and helping them and shaping them to go in the direction that maybe they weren't thinking about, and it's really good fun. So there is a specific mentoring and coaching within Costain, and there is a specific military ex-forces network as well within Costain as well. The two don't necessarily overlap, but if you wanted them to, they absolutely could.
Okay, a similar question from Trevor. So to you, Andrew, you mentioned that you sit on an interview panel. What does the military program look like at Atkins?
So it's very similar to Stephen's. They have a big contingency of military personnel or ex-military personnel, because they can identify the transferable skills that are provided by the individuals. Again, there's a mentorship process that you can go through if you desire, and with interviews, which is part of the question, with interviews we will talk about the transferable skills. So if somebody's coming in for a PCO role or a project management role or a business change role, if they've got other skills that are identifiable during the interview and on their CV, then we will investigate that a little bit and see if they can go into maybe a separate role or a different role that they maybe wanted to go for in the first place, just to pick out their best skills.
Okay, but I think the point is both Costain and Atkins have got a programme that's trying to help and support the candidates through. They're willing to bring in the service leavers.
Yeah.
So
I mean, working alongside Build Force is huge for Atkins, and their partnership within the armed forces is another ex-recruiting service recruiting tool that they have as well. So they're very active.
Fantastic. I know Caroline's supporting Atkins setting up their military programme at the moment. So Caroline, you're obviously seeing the benefits of it being structured like that rather than ad hoc one-off candidates coming in every so often.
Yeah, I mean, we work closely with our employers, Costain as well. I mean, Costain and Atkins are two exemplary employers that we work with that have really bought into the mentoring. So we have dedicated mentors at all levels, according to skill sets. And, we map our candidates to them. So if you're looking for mentoring an industry mentor, then we can definitely support you with that.
Perfect. And I love Joanne's question. She's cutting to the chase. What are you actually looking for? So she's asking what skill should be demonstrated in the CV or the interview. So I'll ask that to Stephen first.
I would say to you, as I say to quite a lot of people when talking about CVs, there used to be a way, if you remember the old days where we had newspapers and they had columns. There used to be a technique of writing a newspaper article called the pyramid technique, and you had to say everything about the story in the first 22 words of the article. And you had to condense everything into 22 words. And then the next paragraph, you'd say a bit more. The next paragraph, you'd say a bit more. I would say to you that in your CV, if you can say, using this skill, I did that, which delivered this in 22 words, you're on a winner. So say what skill, using this leadership skill, I was able to influence this many people that then delivered this. You're going, oh, right, I've got something specifically that you've done. And then if you can do that for each of your accomplishments all the way through your CV, it's pithy, it's actually telling a story, and away you go. It's a bit of a wordsmith art to get to that position. But you know what? As I said when I was chatting, people see a lot of CVs, and you can either go for the David Brent approach to CVs of making two piles, put one in each pile, and then just throw that lot in the bin, employ lucky people. You don't want to be there. You want people, you want to grab people's attention. If it's too wordy, if it's too dense, and people don't feel easy reading it, you're going to go into the unlucky pile. It's going to be clear, pithy, and to the point. So if you can get to that 22 words per bullet, brilliant.
So just one question on that then. If we have, for example, a mechanical engineer who served with REME, and he wants to be PMO or project manager. Okay, so the day job looks completely different from his aspiration going forward. When he's giving examples, is he just further demonstrating how different those two roles will be? Does it spook a client when it starts becoming a bit techy and not aligned to PMO or project management? So if it's all about plans
it doesn't necessarily spook a client. As long as you're getting across early what it is you want to be doing. If you can then show some depth, if you've caught them on the first page and you manage to get them to turn this to the second page and you can see some depth behind it, again, you're on to winner. What the trick is, can you get them to the second page? Yeah. If you can get to the second page and then say, I do high altitude knife fighting right down at the bottom, you're really interesting, away you go.
Perfect. Okay.
I'll just a little vignette. I was interviewing a guy middle of last year with another colleague of mine, and we went through all the technical questions, and he obviously got through, and away we go. And at the end of it, I always refer to it as my blind date question. You know, what do you do at weekends when you're not at work? What do you do at weekends? And he says, oh, I play rugby and I play the guitar. Well, I'm a huge rugby fan, and the guy I was with is a huge guitar man and plays in the band. And I said, next time we just need to ask those two questions at the front end.
Okay, you fell in love at that point. And to you, Andrew, you're obviously reviewing a lot of CVs and going through interviews at the moment. So what are you looking for? What skill catches your eye?
I can't disagree with anything that Stephen said. I will refer back to an interview that I did a couple of weeks ago with a person. I won't go into details, and she was applying for a project management role, albeit a junior one. When we asked her experience and knowledge of project management, she didn't have any. So she was going through a different. She had the skill set, but she didn't do her research. So that's another thing that I would urge people to do a bit of research. I had no idea of Prince 2 or APM or any of the other methodologies. So and that smacked of not being prepared. So I think that is a big tip that I would throw out there.
Along similar lines, I interviewed someone last year who clearly had someone write their CV for them, and they've got all the buzzwords in there of APM and program management and Prince 2 and that sort of stuff. And when I just asked a very simple question, you don't explain to me how you take your requirements and turn it into a work breakdown structure, couldn't answer the question. And so as the interview went on, it got to the old, don't bluff a bluffer. You're bluffing, and I can see you're bluffing. So just don't be in that position. You need to know what you put in your CV. It needs to have depth behind it, and you need to be able to talk about it and bring it to life with experiences.
So specifically in the PMO space, then, when you are asking that question in an interview, what have you project managed? It really is around strategy and techniques, which you'll get from the courses. You're not looking for real life experiences in their military career.
If you can take a strategy and a technique, and then just say, I applied it to this deployment overseas or something like that, or I applied it to running a mess dinner night, or just demonstrate that you understand this is the technique and this is how I applied it. Well, great, you got the basics of it. Those quite simplistic things, but you've all done things that are highly technical and quite involved on operations. So you can apply the techniques and say, this is how I did it.
Okay, and a question for Stephen, but for both of you. Again, aircraft engineer, helicopter pilot, but no qualifications to show for it. Are qualifications or a degree necessary? I
would say not necessary in its entirety. It's all down to experience. If you can say I've got these skills and techniques and this is what I can do, then fandabidozi. I've actually a colleague of mine who's worked for quite a lot. He and I worked together on Fox Sounds anyway. Now both work for Costain as well. He was a REME aircraft tech, and he's now a principal consultant within Costain doing program and project management.
There you go. That's what you're striving for, Kevin. And a great question from Daniel. What is the best part of working where you work? So to you, Andrew, first.
Oh, blimey. Flexibility. I think we're able to work from home to a certain degree, show our faces when we need to. Cheltenham for us, we've got the confidential site, and we've also got a site where you can do normal day-to-day, and then we call it low side working. So yeah, the flexibility, and if you don't want to go into work, you can work from home. I'm at home today, so I can take part in this, and I've got some other bits and bobs that I can do on the low side. So I will use the flexibility of the hours that they gave me to the fullest. That no one is checking up on me anymore. I feel like it's a bit of a grown up world, and we're in a grown up situation. And as long as we get to the end of the week and all of our outcomes are successful, then there's no reason for anyone to complain or check up on me. So I think that's a big key. It's the flexibility that this role gives me.
Stephen.
I think two things for me. One, it's the variety and flexibility, and again, we're very much hybrid working now. So apart from when I have to go into the MOD to be on a specific computer network, then that's when I have to go into the office. Apart from that, I could actually just work from home. But I also like to catch up with the team and meet people. So it's huge hybrid working is really good. Is one thing. The other thing is I really enjoy the coaching and mentoring side. I've had 2 or 3 graduates who have come through a graduate scheme now, and just seeing them on their first projects and how they've really grasped it and are just flourishing is hugely satisfying. Just to see them, and they're coming up with ideas. They're going to be managing me before they know it, which is great to see.
Fantastic, thank you. A question from Thomas. So he's in the Republic of Ireland. Nationally, do you just contact, or do you look on the website for Atkins and Costain to apply for a job, or is there somewhere specific you should be looking?
For Costain, we don't go outside the UK, I'm afraid. So it's all UK, Great Britain based. Okay,
and Atkins, Andrew, do you know?
Certainly, I know we do Northern Ireland. I'm not sure if we do Republic. That said, Atkins is a worldwide, it's part of SCN and Latherland, so it's a worldwide agency. So there may be something in the Republic. I can't recall ever seeing anything there, but I can't say for sure that isn't the case.
That's okay, Thomas. If you get in touch with Caroline, she can support you on that one. Anthony's asking about work placements. Again, their value is worth their weight in gold, Stephen, as you were saying. Andrew, are they available in both your organisations, actually?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I did my resettlement with Atkins, and that was very easy. That was a very easy process to get into work. Yeah.
Okay. And we do a similar thing. I mean, I had someone come in just before Christmas. We do like to give them something specific to do. We don't, and if that gets them to go around the bazaars and go and talk to everybody at the same time, even better. But we don't like if you just come in and just wander around and chat to people. We want to give you something to do, something to deliver, and then who knows where that might lead.
Okay, shout out to the Northeast as well. So quick nods if you're in that location, both of you.
We do have people up there. We have people working just about to set off on the A66 project. which goes through Barnard Castle, so you can check your eyes on the way through as well.
Andrew?
Yeah, we've got
Perfect.
locations in it's not the east, but Manchester and Leeds, which is not too far away. So.
Okay, and from David Roberts, he's asking if you both have dealings or within your department of historic buildings.
We have, when we are doing, we don't specifically go for historic buildings, but we have a whole consenting team, because when you're doing big civils projects, whether it's roads or pipelines or railways and things like that, you have to do all the clearances and the consenting to go through it. And a lot of that involves not just planning permission, but also archaeological surveys and environmental surveys. And so it's not just as simple as writing a planning consent and getting it through. You have to demonstrate that you've done all the due diligence on it. So we have archaeologists who work for us. We have environmental scientists who work for us. We have people who do, I'm about to say GIS, but I can't even, information strategies. I can't remember. It's fly-throughs and building up pictures of what's in the ground and things like that. As a TLA, I've forgotten. There we go. So whilst we don't do specific historic buildings, we're very conscious of national footpaths, of water courses, of archaeological sites, and that sort of thing.
Okay, Andrew, you're nodding.
Yeah, very similar, activities going on with Atkins as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and again, I'm going to challenge you on this one, Andrew, because you went straight into it. Salary point. So you don't need to share the number, but when you left and joined Atkins, did you maintain the salary you were on? Be the first question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And I would go along the same route as Stephen. You know, don't take a pay cut. I had a pension which allowed me to, if I wanted to, I could have taken a pay cut in the role of Atkins, but I didn't need to. So it worked out really well.
Sorry, Andrew. If anybody says to you, "Oh, we're going to give you this because you've got your army pension, you've got your RAF pension," tell them where to stick it.
Yeah.
You've earned that. That's yours. You look after it. You should be paid the same as anybody else in the company who's equivalent to you in the company.
Okay, and just to make sure for Anthony that question is really answered in full, what would the salary bands be? So for somebody that's maybe served for say 12 years and they're coming out, what would their starting salary look like?
That a lot of that depends on, and I'm sure the same with Stephen's company, on their qualifications and experience. I think someone coming in new into Atkins would be around 29 as a start, you know.
And if they've got the Prince 2, if they meet all the requirements?
Yeah. So the bottom level, which you come in as in a P1, has got 3 grades. So if you've come in with nothing, it will be around 29. And then the more you can offer, it creeps up a little bit.
I think ours is very similar. If you come in at the P1, 2, 3 level, it's a similar sort of thing. You start at about 30, and it's between 30 and 36, something like that. But as you go up, you know, so I've got people who are with me who are sort of early to mid 30s, and they've come in at 55, 60, but they've come in with other experiences and other areas, and it just depends on what you're pitching for. And does your experience justify that?
Okay, you mentioned before potentially an entry route would be a project management role, cut your teeth, then come into PMO. Where can you go to next? What does it look like after that for you?
Where do you want to go? One of the things that I particularly like about Costain is that I might be working on a defence programme at the moment. I have worked on a gas programme and I have worked on a water programme, and there are other areas that I could go and deal with. I'm actually pursuing something at the moment in terms of central government and helping out in central government, cross-government consulting as well. So yes, come in as a project manager, cut your teeth, understand how to do project management, how to do delivery. Brilliant. Then move on to consulting, and consulting gets really interesting because you're learning, you're looking at other people and going, wow, this is really messed up. That's why you're there. You're a consultant. help them fix it, and you learn a lot from helping them fix it, and then you can take that off and take it into other areas. And it's just like, you know, we all have war stories where we pull up a sandbag and swing a lantern. It's exactly the same out here. When you're talking into a new client, you're talking about your experiences and what worked well in other areas and what didn't work well. And this is perhaps why you should shape it like that, because my experience tells me you should be doing it like this. So yes, come in, cut your teeth, be a project manager, be a program manager, and then go into consultancy, and really the world is your oyster.
Okay, and a question from Mahesh, which I think we've covered. He's asking about Agile and Prince 2, and can that aid or support you if you don't have experience? I think the answer, Mahesh, is yes, it will. Yeah,
Yes, definitely.
But call back on some of your military experience to give examples that you understand just what those are. Okay, and a question from Joanne. Stephen, you mentioned about data mining and having awareness of that. Could you elaborate a little more on what you need people to demonstrate and any specific qualifications and experience that might be useful?
So a lot of, I talked about Costain using digital ideas and digital thoughts, and one of the things we're looking at is artificial intelligence and how it can help us deliver complex programs, because you end up on a big complex program, say let's just use the A14 road bypass around Cambridge. You end up with vast quantities of data, whether it's to do with schedule, cost, risk, actuals, health and safety, environmental, loads and loads of data, and being able to manipulate it and come up with dashboards so that people can make decisions is really key. But the fundamental is that you need to get the base structure right. Once you get the base structure of data management right, you can then go into data science and move things around, and you can use things like Azure and other enterprise tools. But what we're looking at now is, having got that right, so how can we then use AI, machine learning, and get to predictive analytics? Because if you can get to predictive analytics, you can just say, if we continue on at this place, we are going to be 3 years late. But if we make this decision now, we might be 18 months early. That's where we need to get to in terms of complex delivery. You can't just keep churning it out every day and then have 3 months before you're meant to deliver it and turn around to the client and say, oh, sorry, it's going to be another year. Crossrail, did I say that out loud? But if you get into that position of where you've got a really good structure of information, which comes from a project controls and PMO background, and you're able to support decisions with predictive analytics, not just looking backwards and saying, we had a plan, we did this, great, doesn't tell me anything. But if you go to, we had a plan, we did this, and this is how efficient we're being, well, that's a bit more interesting. Or we had a plan, we did this, this is how efficient we've been, and if we continue on like this, this is where it's going to end up. If you can use data science and data management and get into AI and machine learning and doing that sort of thing, it's a real game changer in complex delivery.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you to Stephen and Andrew for their contribution today and incredible answers in at the Q&A. Stephen, I know you've jumped out of a training program for this, so thank you very much. And to our military community that are watching this, you have heard from two great veterans. This is a tried and tested pathway. It's a fantastic second career, and it's got the rewards, challenges and thrills you're looking for. You are not alone. Buildforce are here to support and guide you as you transition. So please get in touch if you have any questions, and we will help you take this further. And I will pass back to Caroline to share some insights.
Wow, thanks, Angela. So thanks, chaps, again for a really good virtual career chat. All of our virtual career chats do sit on our website as a useful resource. So if this is the first one you're listening to, please do go and check them out. They focus on all the various disciplines and some employer-led ones as well. So as I said, this is it for the summer. So have a wonderful July and August. We have our next virtual career chat in September, which I believe is project management. But also don't forget, we have our next Armed Forces Insight Day in October. That will be held in Manchester. But remember, our Insight Days are nationwide because all of our employers have a national presence. So please don't miss that. They really are a fantastic transitional event for you to attend, and a really good insight to the sector with about 40 of our employers in the room, Costain and Atkins included, of course. So enjoy the summer. Here's to no more rainy days and lots more sunshine. Take care all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Stephen. Thank you, Andrew. Bye.